Welcome back to Investing Talk Podcast. Today, we are tackling really the single most pressing question for a lot of energy investors right now. Is EON Resources a good time to buy now? We've pulled together a pretty comprehensive stack of sources, critical catalyst report, detailed stock analysis, to try and figure out exactly where this Permian player stands and, well, why its story is so polarizing. Before we unpack this high-stakes situation, please take just a moment to subscribe, hit that like button, and leave us a comment below. Seriously, if there's a specific company you want us to look into next, please drop that name or ticker symbol down in the comments. Your input really drives these explorations.
Yeah, and our mission today is basically to cut through the noise, synthesize the investment thesis for EON Resources. We really have to address this massive gulf between the company's current reality, which, let's be clear, involves negative cash flow, and the frankly staggering bullish case built on its physical assets. So we'll weigh the operational risks, detail that Q3 turnaround, and then map out the critical Q4 events. These are the things that will determine if that high price target is, even remotely achievable.
Okay, so let's start with the basics. Who is EON Resources? They're an independent oil and natural gas explorer producer focused entirely on the Permian Basin, which, as you know, is one of the most desirable regions in U.S. energy. Right now, they operate across about 13,700 acres, and they have 342 producing wells. Now, what immediately attracts investors, I think, to EON is the structure. They hold 100% working interest in their properties. So when they successfully drill, they don't share the output. They capture the full upside potential. That's the kind of leverage institutional money loves, right?
That leverage is great, absolutely. But let's be candid here about the financial hole they're, digging out of. The current operating model is fundamentally unprofitable. The data we pulled shows their trailing 12-month earnings per share is negative $0.50, minus 50 cents. So you're buying a company that is, right now, losing money. And it's not just that. The revenue trend is concerning, too. Their 2024 revenue, just over $20 million, well, that reflected a significant year-over-year decline, nearly 25% down from 2023. And yes, net losses actually widened slightly last year.
Okay, so with that kind of financial picture negative EPS, shrinking revenue, is the analyst target just delusional? Or is there a concrete reason to believe this turnaround is actually going to land? Because right now, I think the biggest red flag for fundamental investors, the ones looking at the books, is that lack of transparency we saw mentioned in the reports. They haven't made detailed balance sheet figures readily accessible, things like exact debt ratios, cash balances from the latest filings, that kind of thing. That limited visibility into their liquidity, I mean, that's a significant headwind, wouldn't you say?
It absolutely is, yeah. You have to treat this as a high-risk gamble based on potential, not current performance. However, the reason this company is even on anyone's radar, despite those losses, is the massive potential reward. And that's highlighted by the sole analyst covering the stock.
Exactly. And even though only one analyst is following them, which, itself is kind of a warning sign about low institutional coverage, that one analyst issued a strong buy rating.
Yeah.
And the 12-month price target.
$2.
$2. Yeah, which is staggering. The stock was trading around, 53 cents when our sources were compiled. So the analyst expects nearly a four-fold return. 4 times.
That's a big call.
Huge. And the company, they support this bullishness with their own asset valuation. They cite enormous potential value, over $95 million in NPV10.
Right, the NPV10. Net present value at a 10% discount rate. It's the standard industry calculation for valuing oil, still in the ground.
So that figure suggests their physical assets are worth far, far more than the current market price. They talk about potential reserves exceeding 10 million barrels of oil.
So the assets seem to be there. The whole investment thesis really hinges entirely on management's ability to execute. Can they pull it off?
Which leads us straight into Q3 of 2025, because that quarter seems to be all about execution and stabilization.
Exactly. This period was absolutely critical for the financial restructuring. The capital that flowed in during August and September, well, it directly addresses those liquidity concerns we just talked about. So in August, the company announced a major agreement, the goal, to eliminate $40 million in outstanding debt.
$40 million? That's significant.
It is. That alone makes the balance sheet look significantly cleaner. But that wasn't all. They also secured major funding deals, including a $52.8 million volumetric funding arrangement with InStream Capital.
Okay, volumetric funding, that's key, right? Maybe we should quickly clarify what that is.
Yeah, good point. It's tied directly to future production. It basically signals that the funder, end stream in this case, is betting on EON's physical ability to actually produce barrels of oil down the line. It's not just based on the collateral of their current assets. So yeah, it's a huge vote of confidence in their drilling forecasts.
Right. And the momentum kept going in September. EON closed another massive funding package, $45.5 million this time. And what's fascinating here, I think, is that a huge chunk of that, $40.5 million, came from a private family office.
Which often suggests, patient capital, long-term capital that believes in a multi-year turnaround, not just some quick flip financing.
And that fresh capital apparently translated pretty immediately into operational growth. In October, they completed the South Justice Field acquisition.
Right.
Which instantly added, 120 barrels of oil per day to their production baseline? That's cash flow today. Small, but immediate.
And operationally, this acquisition just reinforces their strategic focus, aggressively expanding in the Permian Basin, specifically targeting that high-potential San Andres expansion. This is really the cornerstone of their strategy, to move from negative EPS towards profitability.
But maybe the real vote of confidence wasn't just in the press releases about the funding deals. It was in the trading activity itself. When the people actually running the company management, independent directors start buying heavily with their own money. Well, you have to pay attention to that.
Absolutely. The sources show significant insider accumulation. Management and independent directors bought 364,000 shares just in August. By the end of Q3, their total purchases hit 1,076,000 shares.
Over 1 million shares.
Yeah. And this culminates in management collectively amassing 3 million shares through open market purchases.
3 million shares. Wow. That's definitely not pocket change.
Not at all.
That sheer volume of insider buying, it signals direct material alignment with shareholders. It shows conviction that the stock price is fundamentally undervalued.
Exactly. Management is essentially telling the market, look, we know what we just secured financially, and we know what we're about to drill.
Okay, so with the balance sheet looking better and insider confidence seemingly high, Q4 2025 looks stacked with these pivotal catalysts. Things designed to translate that cash and confidence into, sustained market validation.
That's right. The first major hurdle is the Q3 2025 earnings release. Our reports indicate it'll fall around November 14th or maybe December 12th. There seems to be some uncertainty there. But regardless of the exact date, this report is pivotal. Investors won't just be looking at the top-line revenue. They'll be digging for concrete proof of that debt reduction progress. They'll want to see initial signs of improved cash flow and, crucially, clear guidance on the productivity of their newly funded drilling operations.
And beyond those operational reports, the market probably needs some external validation too, right? Since that insider accumulation is drawing serious attention. Ongoing institutional buying is anticipated, funds potentially following management's lead.
Makes sense.
And there's also a specific date circled on the calendar, November 18th. This is when the ETF index rebalancing happens. This could potentially lead to EON's inclusion in broader energy ETFs.
Index inclusion. That's always a potential boost.
Exactly. Inclusion automatically brings in new shareholders, increases liquidity. It acts as a powerful non-operational support for upward price movement. Could be significant. But the biggest operational lever, I think, the event that could truly unlock that $2 potential, is scheduled for December 18th. That's the San Andres horizontal drilling kickoff. They're working with Virtus Energy on this expansion.
This isn't just routine drilling. This is expected to be the key factor for massively expanding their production, their reserve estimates, looking out into 2026. This is really where the company proves they can translate that capital into profitable barrels.
And this intense focus on, operational expansion, cleaning up the balance sheet, it often attracts bigger players, doesn't it?
It certainly can. And this raises a crucial, though speculative, point. M&A speculation, mergers and acquisitions. Industry rumors, according to the reports, suggest that large-cap entities might be scouting for strategic acquisitions of attractive Permian assets. And given EON Resources' recent debt cleanup, the fresh capital, and now this defined operational expansion plan, it just makes it a much cleaner, more attractive target compared to maybe 6 months ago.
Right. While M&A is always speculative, you can't ignore it. If any news were to break on that front, current shareholders could see an instant premium.
Definitely a potential tailwind, even if it's just rumors for now.
So for listeners who follow the technical signals, the charts, does the recent price action support this underlying bullish sentiment that seems fueled by these catalysts?
It seems to, yeah, the technical picture is actually quite interesting. Right now, the price is sitting above both the 50-day simple moving average, which is around 43 cents, and the 200-day SMA, nearer to $0.50. Crossing and, more importantly, holding above those key averages is often seen as a classic technical sign of a possible bullish trend reversal. It suggests momentum might finally be shifting upward.
Okay. What about momentum indicators?
We also see some confirmation there. The analysis points to a bullish divergence detected on the MSCID indicator. Now, what that means basically is while the price itself might look like it's struggling to push higher day to day, the underlying momentum gauge is actually strengthening. That's a classic technical signal. Suggests that the technical floor is holding and a rally might be brewing underneath the surface.
And is there volume to back this up? Because divergence without volume.
Good question. Yes. Importantly, this technical shift is accompanied by a solid pickup in trading volume. Volume confirmation suggests that, smart money, or at least more traders, are actively participating in this potential reversal. It's not just noise.
Okay, but a word of caution here. This is clearly a highly volatile stock. The reports mentioned, 12% plus monthly average swings?
Yeah, it moves.
So it's definitely built for active traders who can handle that kind of movement. However, given the asset base and the clear plan, the overall risk is still classified as medium, not, say, extreme or highly speculative.
Right. And if we connect these technical signals to the immediate future, analysts seem to expect a pretty tight trading range, somewhere between maybe $0.29 and 51 cents over the next 3 months. Which signals, really, that the market hasn't fully digested all this catalyst news yet. There's still some wait and see happening.
So that near-term consolidation range, it stands in pretty stark contrast to that aggressive 12-month fair value target, which, again, remains firmly at $2.
Exactly. And that disparity perfectly encapsulates the whole story here. High risk, high reward.
So, synthesizing everything we've looked at, the huge asset base, the critically Q3 funding success, that strong insider conviction, the defined Q4 operational plan, the technicals, what does the overall investment thesis look like when you put it all together?
Well, the consensus, when you factor in that analyst target and the recent technical improvements, it definitely supports an overall bullish rating, maybe inferred around an 8.5 out of 10, something like that. But it's crucial to remember the balance. The high upside potential is definitely counterweighted by clear company-specific risks, primarily the current unprofitability and, of course, their reliance on volatile commodity prices.
So who's this stock really for?
I think it's fundamentally attractive for potentially two specific groups right now. First, short-term traders. They might play the technical swings, the volatility, and that upcoming earnings report in the next quarter. And second, longer-term investors. Those seeking high beta exposure to potentially underappreciated Permian assets and maybe hoping for those M&A tailwinds over the next year or so.
Right. So that makes the story fundamentally about one thing. Can management translate the confidence they showed with those 3 million share purchases and translate that fresh capital into sustained, profitable success? Especially with that big San Andreas horizontal drilling kickoff.
That's the crux of it.
It really is a compelling but definitely high-stakes turnaround story that seems to hinge heavily on what happens this December.
Absolutely. And maybe as you, the listener, weigh this opportunity, here's a final provocative thought to consider. Given that high volume of insider purchases leading right up to a major operational expansion, what specific data point in that upcoming Q3 earnings report, whether it lands in November or December, what would signal to you personally that the $2 price target is actually achievable? Would you prioritize seeing definitive debt reduction success, proving they've truly secured the balance sheet? Or would seeing sustained, measurable cash flow improvements be the key metric for you, the one that validates that massive Q3 funding injection?
That's the question you really have to answer for yourself when those numbers finally drop.